Welcome to another conversation in People in Fundraising. This podcast features interviews with nonprofit professionals who discuss their career journeys, lessons learned, and enthusiasm for working in fundraising. And here is your host, the founder of People in Fundraising, Tim Wilson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is St. Patrick's Day, so happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you celebrating. And I'm wearing green today. For people that listen in, you won't be able to see that, but happy St. Patrick's Day to my audience. Today, I am really excited to welcome Jason Hill to the People in Fundraising weekly nonprofit podcast series. Jason, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim. I am so happy to be here. I love that you reached out to me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jason Hill. I am the co-founder and CEO of Beyond the Man Box, and you can find us on LinkedIn at Beyond the Man Box and also on Instagram and TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And while we're on that brief intro, I will pull up your website. And again, for people that tune in on video to watch these interviews, here is Jason's company's website, beyondthemanbox.com. There's an About Us section, a contact section about retreats and how to join. And I know we'll get into that in our part of the questionnaire. So again, beyondthemanbox.com. I look forward to learning more myself. And before we started recording, we were just sharing, Jason and I, a quote that I'll get into that I thought may be applicable here as well. So Jason, before we get to that part about your newest venture with Beyond the Man Box, if you could just tell our audience who you are, the intersection you've had with different career pursuits and social impact, and then we'll pick it up at that point with Beyond the Man Box and other things you're working on.
Yeah, that sounds great. I started I got first into like the social impact space in New York where I was volunteering. I was volunteering for Audre Project. I was volunteering for Sage, which is a organization for queer elders.
Mm.
And then I moved to LA and I started working for Equality California and I was doing their small scale fundraising. So
Oh,
just, calling people on the telephone, getting them to sign up for the Capital Club, talking about our current campaigns, basically getting them to give me their credit card number over the phone, even though they didn't know who I was. And somehow I was really good at it. So I really loved that. And then I moved to working at St. John's in Los Angeles, which is a trans health clinic. So I was helping with name and gender change for people and just doing a bunch of advocacy to we helped two bills pass in California. So I really loved doing that work. And what had happened was my mom was getting older and I was her only son. She was a single mom. And I just was noticing that age discrimination was starting to affect her ability to work at places that would pay well, that she
oh.
used to work in the past.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, well, I have to make more money so I can take care of my mom. Like, I don't want to see her struggling. It doesn't make sense. Um, and so that's when I shifted to working in the tech industry. And I was doing it for the money, really. I was like, I need enough money for myself and my mom, so this is what we have to do.
Definitely.
And then in February of 2024, she died very suddenly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've had the experience of losing a parent or a friend, someone really, really close to you. Suddenly, it just completely changes your life forever. It's not like a single event. And, then that it also makes you think about life. And so I was going through this period where I was like, she just died like that. I talked to her 4 hours before she died, and she was fine.
Oh, goodness.
So I was like, I could die at any moment. There's really no guarantee.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't want to spend my life just working for a company that a lot of the tech companies, their main goal is to keep their investors and shareholders happy. It's not
Yeah.
like really about the people that they help. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to nonprofit. I want to be
Mm.
making a difference. I want to do something purposeful with my life. And so I was like looking for all these nonprofit jobs. And then I was like, oh, wow, they really don't pay anything. I was like, man, I don't want to be poor. Like, how do I make this work? And
Yeah.
so, and just to wrap it up, then what really happened was a recruiter friend of mine, great recruiter, Spencer Allen, he introduced me to the nonprofit tech space. And I
Oh,
was like, oh, this is a good hybrid between making a difference in the world and also not living paycheck to paycheck.
yes.
So that's where I like ended up in before I started Beyond the Man Box.
Awesome. That's an interesting story. Yeah. Um, how did the idea for Beyond the Man Box originate? And then if you can just talk with us about sort of the highs and lows, the challenges that come up with having this vision
Hmm.
and attracting other talent, getting it off the ground, the excitement, the late nights, all the kind of like the cliched aspects that at least I think about goes into, bootstrapping a really interesting and innovative product.
Totally. I mean, that's very valid. Um, I've had this idea in my heart for like a decade.
Oh,
And most of the time I was afraid to do it and afraid to go out on my own
mm,
because I anticipated that I would get a lot of resistance from men.
okay.
But I was like, men need this so much. And so around 2020, I'd started a TikTok, got like a pretty decent following, and I was talking about all these issues. Empathy, emotional intelligence with men, just the man box scripts that we are raised with that say that we can't cry or we can't show any emotion, we can't show fear, all of this stuff that basically says you are not allowed to be a human.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's unrealistic because we're human. So those emotions come out sideways some other ways. That's why so many of the men that I talk to that are in high performing positions, they go home and they're drinking a lot or they're playing video games or they're smoking a bunch of weed because they're just trying to stuff down all the things that they are feeling
Yeah.
because of scripts that have told them that they cannot be a human being.
Yes.
It's
Wow.
very, yeah, it's truly awful. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I, as you were speaking, and I'd love to hear more
Mhm.
about the project itself, but as you were speaking, one thing really resonated with me, and it's something I read a few years ago, maybe around the pandemic in the Atlantic, and the author had researched or meta-analysis of research about American teenage and adolescent boys.
Mm.
And one of the key takeaways is that the only emotion for generations that American men have been allowed to express is anger.
Yep.
Like from the time they're young, they can throw a tantrum and people pay attention. And, crying, having empathy, like all
Mhm.
of those kind of we get a cultured to you can't show that. You're weak. You're a
Mhm.
sissy. You're XYZ. But
Mhm.
anger is totally fine to show.
Yeah,
And that's what a lot of men have had experience, throughout the decades of their development. That one's okay. Everything else is bad.
100%.
Yeah.
And you see it. You just see it all the time. This just kind of leading with hardness or dominance or always being ready to fight. It's just so unhealthy.
Yeah.
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 Like anger as an emotion itself is not unhealthy, but if that is the only one that's covering everything else underneath, it's really dangerous and it leads to violence.
Yes.
And that actually makes the world more unsafe for everybody.
Yes.
You have men that are fighting other men for something really silly and stupid, something trivial. Then you have the ones that graduate to a place where then they are violent against women and, their partners, anybody else. So it's like it's just not a healthy way for the world to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So where for you did that realization start to take hold? And then how did it lead you to develop the framework for beyond the man box?
totally. So I was raised, to be human. I mean,
Hmm.
again, I had a single mom, my grandma, my aunt, so I was raised by a bunch of women.
Uh-huh.
And so I believe I was raised differently,
Yeah.
where it was okay to cry. It was okay to have emotions and stuff. And I just noticed over time that the assumption that everybody made about me, well, they even made assumptions about my sexuality, specifically because I was a more emotional and a more sensitive person. And I
Oh,
was like, that's so interesting that that's what the assumption is, just because I'm not afraid to show my feelings.
yeah.
Then I had these experiences working, and as a doubt, I remember I was a PA, production assistant for commercials for a while, and I remember asking the assistant director a question because I was confused about something, and I was like, "Hey, I'm really confused," and he cut me off. He shook me by the shoulders, and he was like, "Man up," and then walked away from me.
Oh,
Like
goodness.
I'm like, I don't understand. I'm just asking a question. I want to do a good job here. And you're acting like because I'm confused, I'm not a man suddenly. Like it's it's crazy. It's
That's
been stuff
bonkers.
like that. And I also remember a moment where I'm like terrified of bees. It is like a huge phobia of mine. I see them and I just want to run.
Okay.
My instinct
Okay.
is get as far away from them as you can. And I remember being in Brooklyn, walking with my girlfriend at the time, walking her home. We were holding hands, and then like these two bees just like came and were swarming around my head, and I just let go of her hand and I started taking off, just running. And then there were these two guys that were watching on the stoop, and they were just screaming slurs at me,
Oh, yeah.
just crazy, and then telling my girlfriend, "You need to get yourself a real man. Like, what kind of man is that?" And then she was like, "Shut up. He's my man. I love him. I'm with him,
Yeah.
not you," you know? And
Right.
it really made me think about this because I've seen a lot of conversations in the manosphere. Because I watch that not because I agree with but more to just learn like what are their talking points? How are they resonating with people? What messages are they sending? And a lot of the dialogue there is men talking about how women are forcing them to be in these roles, and it's not true. I-
Yeah.
It's not true. I have had my masculinity policed by other men, not
Yes.
by women.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
did not care that I was afraid of bees. It was two dudes that didn't even know me that cared.
Right. That's wild. Man. So, Jason, did you, as the idea was taking hold for you, did you share it with other men in your networks, whether it's professional, personal? Were you seeing that there was resonance in your experience with them as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I realized that, like I mentioned, I'd started doing TikTok.
Yeah,
And the reason I had stopped was because of my analytics. It was like 84% of my followers were women. So I was like, I'm just speaking to an echo chamber
I
right
see.
now. I really need to reach men
I see.
because
Yeah.
men are the ones that really need help with this the most. And so, even though I wasn't getting a following on TikTok, once I started reaching out individually to people in my network and having one-on-one conversations, that's when they were honest with me.
Hmm.
But not on the internet, not often in group settings.
Mhm.
Except actually I am sober. I'm 15 years sober,
Wow.
and I thank you. And I'll go to men's recovery groups, and often I am the first one to bring, when I'm sharing, to bring the room to a more honest and transparent space. And so I'll share something, and I can feel that everyone in the room is resonating with it,
Mm,
but they don't share that. What will happen is afterwards they'll come up to me and be like, "Man, I really relate to what you said. I was always a really sensitive kid and I thought there was something wrong with me."
wow.
So
Yeah,
I'm like, men are struggling in silence with
yeah,
all of these things.
it's true.
We all know it's a sham, the kind of social role that we were meant to take on, but there's so much fear about being judged or ostracized because I'm sure every man has had at least one experience where they've been humiliated for showing emotion, for crying, for showing fear. And
Yeah.
those things, they like live in the nervous system.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you identify. Tell me, please.
Totally, totally. So when I was growing up, so we had AM PM kindergarten, and
Mhm.
then someone I greatly admire to this day, George Mitchell, in my hometown when he was a public school teacher, and he and a few other teachers developed a program that was basically full day kindergarten in between kindergarten and first grade.
Oh, okay.
And it was like the late 70s, early 80s, and like there was all sorts of instructional experimentation with, teaching the whole child. And George Mitchell looked and sounded like Mr. Rogers. I mean, he was uncanny. And everyone who knew George just loved him. He was an amazing man. And so anyway, what's quickly, I'll just try and get it quickly. So there's a lot of hands-on instruction. And one time he brought in this massive cardboard cylinder, like a tunnel. We
Mhm.
made a tunnel out of it. And I remember I crawled into the tunnel and like, people, kids are cheering. We're all like 7 years old. And readiness was for children that were academically ready for first grade, but emotionally were not ready.
Mm.
There were 19 kids in my class, and to your point, at least 12 of them were boys.
Wow.
They were not emotionally ready for the rigors, the social, whatever it was for first grade. So this program was designed to help primarily boys. I crawled in the tunnel. Somehow I ended up on my back. One of my legs gets stuck at the top of the curve inside the tunnel.
Oh.
And I couldn't figure out how to twist my body, move my knee. The knee was what was stuck. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And all of a sudden, the cheering turned into a mix of concern and also not really teasing, but just kind of some laughter. Like, what's taking Tim so long to crawl out of the tunnel? And I couldn't figure it out. And so then I got all these different uh, voices on the outside, cheering and laughing and whatnot. George Mitchell crawled into the tunnel and pulled me out. And I don't know if it was probably was embarrassment, and maybe my knee hurt. But I remember I started crying in front of the class.
Yeah.
And George lifted me up, put me on his lap, and like in front of the class, comforted me. And again, I mean, Jason, I was 6 or 7 at the most, and I still remember that. I'm 51 now. I still remember that really vividly and fondly. Kind of rolling my eyes. I didn't always remember it so fondly when I was younger,
Yeah.
um, but definitely a really pivotal moment where another man was like, I'm having none of this. You need to show your emotions. I don't care that you're in front of your classmates. I'm going
Hmm.
to give you a hug. I'm going to wait until you've calmed down. This is not embarrassing.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me forever. So thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Because
Yeah.
that George Mitchell is like, he is a real man to me.
Yes.
To me, a real man is truly integrated in all of the emotional experiences that you can have.
Yeah.
And in that space, he still showed up as a protector for you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men think that in order to be a protector, you have to be like dominant and hard and all of that. And no, it's really about making the people that you're with feel safe.
Yes.
That's what George Mitchell did. He made you feel safe to be yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. The other thing I think about is he didn't like whisk me into a corner and leave me there to deal with it myself or stay with me until he was like, we're doing it right here in front of class. Like, I don't care. Like, I will give you a hug until you are ready. And I'm not gonna like, shield you or shield your your fellow students. Like it was, yeah, very sweet.
Yeah, he showed empathy and emotional intelligence. And that is why it is so important to me to show men how important those skills actually are.
Yeah.
I mean, he influenced and impacted your life so much, and I bet you that moment stayed with a bunch of your classmates too. He showed everybody what it really looks like to be a leader.
Yes. Absolutely right. And in fact, in 2021, which was our 40th reunion, air quotes, we didn't have a reunion, but 40th year of the class, I interviewed almost every student of that class for their
Wow.
recollections. Mr. Mitchell unfortunately passed away in 2002. But I wanted to talk to each of the students and hear what they remembered. And there was a girl who remembered that story. Yeah.
Wow.
Just as you said, like other people were impacted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't think anyone would remember it after 4 decades, but she did. So
Beautiful.
yeah. So enough about me though, but thank you. Um, I'm curious, Jason, how long has it taken you, I think, from when you first had this idea to launching beyond the man box? And what's the reception been like so far?
Perfect. So, I mean, I've had this idea for like a decade, but once I actually decided, no, I'm going to do this, I just went to town and just basically launched it right away. I found a technical co-founder. He's the one who did the website. He's an absolute genius.
Awesome.
And we just like got to work. And as I was talking with more people about it, they were like, yes, I got a lot of yeses. Like, wow, I really admire you for doing this work. I got like a couple women that are like, you're doing the Lord's work, but men have been receptive to it,
Oh,
which
good.
is really, really great. It's been a lot of one-on-one conversations, and it's really been a lot of me sharing on LinkedIn my personal experiences that I've had with this.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm tending to find a lot of men who are connecting. They're either, liking the post or sending me a friend request or connection request on LinkedIn or reposting what I share. It's
Mm,
interesting because a lot of them, I think, still struggle with the fear of commenting publicly in a vulnerable way,
mm.
but they'll like my post and then connect with me or
Oh,
like repost it and stuff like that. And then I'll talk to them a little bit more in the DMs and then they get more honest on
uh,
a one basis.
okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's really been great. We're having our first pilot retreat on the 28th of March, so in a little less than 2 weeks. So I'm very excited about that. And the fact that people were willing and excited to sign up so quickly after we launched, that tells me that we're onto something.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the retreats because when I pulled up the website, that was one of the hyperlinks in there. So, please share whatever you would like to, but like, what
Yeah.
could someone expect at this point in beyond the man box's development if they're looking for a retreat opportunity?
Absolutely. So really, we take men through a journey, and I'll try to condense it just for, the sake of this interview. But it really starts with helping them just have a better vocabulary for feelings.
Mm.
Because if you can't have capacity to experience something that you can't name,
Oh.
so it really starts with that, with just a more, and I've noticed with a lot of men, you kind of have to start more cognitively before you move into like the opening up part. So
Mm.
that's where I start with. I start with some exercises to get them comfortable saying, I don't know, because
Mm.
that's a huge fear for a lot of
Sure.
men. Uh, then we really move into learning about the nervous system and body signals. So typically there's a chain that happens when you experience something. It's like your body notices it first, it's a
Mm.
body signal, then the emotion shows up, and then you do something to try to manage that feeling, which is the coping behavior. So we really get into learning about the body signals. It might be my chest tightens, or, or all of a sudden, like I start clenching my jaw when I feel a certain emotion. And then, I'll move into my coping behavior or my protection strategy, which is like, my body is like getting ready to defend myself. And
Yeah.
so, my coping strategy may be that I joke or I deflect or I shut down or something like that. So it's really helping people understand that chain, because my goal here, it's not to just make people become these folks that are so overwhelmed with emotion that they're just spilling all over the place. It's to understand yourself better and create that automatic, that pause between your automatic reflex and then a more regulated decision and response.
Mm.
So that's really the goal. And then after that, we move into a couple more exercises of learning about your mask, which I call protective intelligence,
Oh,
because we built those masks as children. And so it's not that we were wanted to have masks. It's like we did what we had to do to survive.
yeah.
So I really don't want there to be any shame in that. But then we move into like, what does that actually cost you now in your life as an adult, and all the pillars at work and your romantic relationships and your friendships with your family dynamics. And then we really move into the experiential part, which is different empathy labs.
Mm.
Because in all of the main pillars of your life, like let's talk about empathy at work. It makes you a better leader. You can read a room, you can see who is checking out, who is feeling insecure, who's feeling open.
Yeah.
And then you're able to lead from a place of alignment, because if you lead with empathy, people trust you. And alignment scales way faster than dominance or fear-based leadership.
Mhm. Yeah.
Then you have your romantic relationships. You have the ability to translate. You can see what is happening underneath the words that your partner is saying, and then you can really meet them there. And so that prevents a lot of the relationships that fail. They go into, conflict, which then turns into resentment, which then turns
Yes.
into contempt. Once you're at contempt, it's over.
Yes.
Period. And so you'll have less conflict here. And then I try to tell men, like, look, if you are able to master this skill, you're gonna have more sex, you're gonna like
Right.
you're gonna have more connection with your partner, and your conflicts are gonna really turn into conversations as opposed to these things that just blow up and then
Yes.
still go unresolved because you're being stubborn.
Right.
Um, and then in friendships, I'll try to go faster. Sorry, I get so excited about
That's
this
no,
stuff.
that's fine.
But in your friendships, it makes the difference between, oh, this is my bro, we hang out, and this guy has my back for life. This is my ride or die. So
Yeah.
we really teach them how to start conversations like, hey, you know what? When you said this thing, I pretended it didn't bother me, but it really hurt my feelings.
Right.
Or like, I actually really like you, and want to have a deeper connection with you, but I just don't understand how. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of really that is like so hard for so many men. So we practice that. And then finally in family of origin dynamics, what we really teach is how to not turn back into a 15-year-old. Because like, it just, there's that loop where your family just triggers you so much, or different members of the family might trigger you in different ways. And in your normal life, you're an adult, you're doing your thing, and then you go back to the house you grew up in, or you're around your family for Thanksgiving or the holidays, and all of a sudden it's like you just, transport back into 15-year-old you. And so
Uh-huh.
really it's about breaking that loop and understanding how to have regulated conversations with your family members, holding your boundary without having to cut yourself off for them or cut yourself off from loving them.
Yeah.
So that's really, those are all the workshops that we really do. Yeah,
That sounds so powerful and so needed in our time and our society.
yeah, it
Yeah.
really, it really is.
I applaud you for doing that, Jason. I think, and I am not kidding here. I want to look up the retreats and see
Yes.
if I'm in Utah, like if there's one coming up, down the road, I would love to look into that. I think that would be so beneficial for me just to say that. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
first one's in Vegas, so
Okay.
we'll probably have another one here. We're looking at one in Cali as well, so it won't be too far from Utah.
Right.
Uh,
Well, that was really well put, and I appreciate you walking through the components of the treat, the background of Beyond the Man Box, Jason. I do have about 15 minutes left, and we have two other questions. And
okay.
I thought of you. I've only asked this question of one other guest so far. But it's the third question here from Judy Garland, the late actor. I have a master file of about 200 quotes and questions I pull from for each particular guest. Um, and she wants encouraged, quote, always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of somebody else.
Yes.
And I first came across your work and your thoughts on LinkedIn. And as in your posting on LinkedIn, and I appreciated the frequency that you were posting, and that for me it was really relevant and good content. And I think right now, the last couple of years, I think there's been a sense of um, some people post, this is what I had for lunch, or like this is XYZ, and they're somehow linking it to nonprofit work.
Mhm.
Um, and you wrote something a little similar, in a much better way than I just said, earlier this year. You've been hearing, as I have, that LinkedIn might be turning into TikTok.
Mhm.
Part of your response, Jason, was, quote, what I love is knowing a little more about the humans I work with. I love being of service and getting a glimpse into people's actual lives.
Mhm.
End quote. And I thought that encapsulates it. Like, I think for me, like, it is important on that platform where that's the social media of choice for me more than others.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, like I could be resentful that I'm seeing lunch photos or whatnot, but the way you put it was really helpful to reframe it for me.
Mhm.
So what would you like people to know about who is the first rate version of Jason Hill?
Oh, I like that. Um, I really just want people to know and feel how much I love connecting
Mm,
with people. I am one of those people that actually loves humans.
mm,
I get excited to learn about people. Like I'm not a small talk guy. I
ah,
really, and and I know people who meet me in person tend to feel it. I can't tell you how many times I've been at a party or something and somebody just kind of starts sharing their life with me, and then they'll have a moment where they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I just told you so much." And I'm like, "No, I want to know who you are."
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know who
Yeah.
you are. And to your point about like the, lunch and stuff, like I don't really want to know what you ate for lunch. I want to know like why your favorite food is significant to you. Is it because it was like the meal that you had every Sunday with your family growing up? Was it the or a restaurant that you went to on your first date with your current spouse? That's what I want to know. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care about the surface level things at all because
Yeah.
that is not who you are. I want to know who you are.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And you come across so authentic, here virtually in a Zoom. I can tell that that is who you are. That's wonderful.
And you too, by the way you ask questions, it doesn't feel like you have a generic list. It really feels like you want to know every guest who comes on here and you're genuinely curious and you lead with curiosity.
Thank you.
That's the essence that I get from you. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Jason. I remember before we started recording, we were talking about Beyond the Man Box, and you mentioned liking to hike, and that led me to talk to you about Delicate Arch in Arches National Park, and I
Mhm.
showed you a photo of Delicate Arch, and you said your first reaction was, when I see nature like that, it sometimes makes me want to cry. That reminded me, and I shared it with Jason. It reminded me of a quote from the late college basketball coach Jim Valvano, Jimmy V. He unfortunately passed away 23 years ago this month,
Mm.
pretty suddenly from cancer. And I'm sure there's people in my audience that has seen his ESPY speech, the ESPN award speech. SB is ESPY. What I share with Jason is this quote, and maybe Jason, if you can, if it is interesting to you, find a way to incorporate that into the work you're doing with
Mhm.
Beyond the Man Box. And at the ESPY Awards, Jimmy V said, quote, "To me, there are three things we should all do every day of our lives. Number one is laugh. Number two is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number three is you should have your emotions moved to tears. Could be
Mhm.
happiness or joy. But think about it. If you laugh, if you think, and you cry, that's a full day.
Mhm.
That's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, you're going to have something special." And I just think the work you are doing, embarking on with Beyond the Man Box, is helping more people be comfortable with the range of totally genuine, nothing to be embarrassed about human emotions, particularly
Yes.
men.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I really do love that quote because what I really got out of that was that the purpose of being alive is to really live.
yeah,
And you want to feel alive. You don't want to be shut down. I don't want to go through the world shut down. I do feel like I laugh every day for sure. I probably cry about once a week, so I have to move up. I need to like really get on that game to get better at that. Uh, but there are moments like looking at the photos of the arches that like I was like, oh, I'm about to cry right now.
yeah,
And I think that is so beautiful to really be moved by the beauty there.
yeah.
I've watched like reality TV shows and just started crying,
Uh,
like somebody wins or there's like a moment where like somebody experiences growth and you can see it. But I think that's because I think I'm just more, my heart is open to
mm,
experiencing things. like
Yeah.
truly and fully experiencing things. And I think for definitely for men, but I think for people in general, there is this kind of fear that if you experience an emotion, it's like it will become unbearable.
Yeah.
And like it's something that will take you over and it's like I don't know how I can shut it off or whatever. And really if you just allow yourself to feel it, it's just going to run its course and
Yeah.
then you'll go on to the next thing. But it's really
Yes.
for people to let go. And
Yeah. So I've got another anecdote from my life, and this just happened on Sunday. My 15-year-old son wanted to watch the entirety of the Academy Awards because he's a big Timothy Chalamet and Marty Supreme fan. And unfortunately for him and everyone involved with the actual production of the movie, it wasn't a great night in terms of awards. But he was determined to watch the whole thing with the rest of our family. And so I came in here and there, and the in memoriam part of the Oscars where they show artists and production people, the technical people that have passed away in the last year. That really moved me at parts. I'm like, oh man, that's right. Diane Keaton passed away, or Robert Redford passed away, and um, yeah, I felt like I got a little choked up, and what I
Mhm.
did was I went behind the couch so that no one could see me because of what you just said. I was afraid that it would become unbearable. It would lead to other, heavy feelings that I exercise my way through or podcast my way through about being a middle-aged man in today's world with like sandwich generation of aging parents, young kids.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, maybe I'll tell you more about that at a future retreat.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
would love to hear more about that because that
Yeah.
is it makes sense. It's the social conditioning is strong. And you said you were 51. So it's like it is no easy task to undo 51 years of social conditioning.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to be a snap and then everything's going to change. But
Right.
like you're on the first step, which is really acknowledging, oh, yeah, in that moment, I went behind the couch and I was afraid that I wasn't, that like my emotions would take me over and it would be unbearable. Most people don't even get to that place. You're
Mm,
on your journey.
okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Right? In order to get to the top of a mountain, you have to climb through like every part of it. You can't just get up there unless like, you have a helicopter. Like, you know what I mean? So,
That's so true. Well, Jason, I have just thoroughly enjoyed this time together today. It's so great to hear your voice, to hear the voice that you use in your written work on LinkedIn, and to have that here today has been really a treat. So thank you.
thank you. It's been awesome to be here to get to know you more. Because obviously I've seen you and I knew that you met with Maya and I love Maya.
Yeah.
So just yeah, you're a good man.
Well, thank you. You are as well, and you're doing great work.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to do my part with this podcast, at least with that, to help amplify beyond the man box and the work you do and the posts you write so thoughtfully. I tend to check myself, like how often am I commenting or liking other people's posts because I'm afraid, I'm embarrassed that like other people are going to judge that. Oh, Tim's blowing up my feed with people I'm not even connected to. I don't want to see any of that.
Oh
Does that make
no.
sense?
Yeah, I get it. But
Yeah,
please, like if something resonates with you, please share.
absolutely.
That's how we all grow. And the thing is, you'll be like George Mitchell, right? Like by you sharing what you're thinking, other people in your network will be like, "Oh, I identify with that." And then maybe that'll make them feel more comfortable sharing. It's really like a domino effect.
Totally. Totally. I'm so touched, Jason. You just did it again, but a couple of times you have stated information about myself that I shared in my anecdotes. You mentioned George Mitchell just now, like 20 minutes after I first mentioned him. You mentioned how old I am. Like you are paying attention in a really thoughtful, engaged way, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, I just, like I said, I really love people and I want to learn about them. So I really do like, latch on to these things. I like, that's what I want. That's what I value. I love
Yes.
that you're sharing more stories about your life because that is what moves me. That's what like energizes me.
That's awesome. And it shows. It's infectious. Thank you. Well, Jason, I so appreciate your time today. I look forward to sharing your interview in early May of 2026 across these various platforms that people in our audience have become familiar with. LinkedIn, which will have the audio, video, YouTube connection. Then for people that like to listen to podcasts,
Mhm.
I'm working on cutting out just out of my vocabulary. People that like to listen to the podcasts, Podbean, and thanks to my 100th guest, Luis Diaz of Wise and the Donor Participation Project. He is sponsoring my website. You can find Jason Hill's conversation there, peopleinfundraising.wordifysites.com. So thank you all for your support. And Jason, I hope our paths cross in real life.
They definitely will. Like
Yes.
now you can't get away from me. So we're friends now, Tim. That is what
That's
it
good. I'm up for that.
is.
Have a great rest of your day, Jason.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.